I want to share a thought about racism now that we're in the year of the 75th anniversary of the Holocaust. And really, this is for both my Jewish and Muslim friends as much as for us all. It's a thought for myself as well. I mean, there is so much racism in the world today. It is on the increase in today's world, is it not? I think so. Anyway, it was always there, but it seems to me that there is a new surge, and undoubtedly, that's encouraged by the new spirit of parochialism, which our world has embraced as a reaction to over-speedy internationalism. Do you get that? I mean, we are very parochial now in our attitudes. It started for me with the breakup of former Yugoslavia into a whole parade of mini-states encouraged by countries like Britain and America and Germany, who really fostered this move towards the fragmentation of Yugoslavia, maybe for good reason, but nonetheless. And now our world has embraced this parochialism as a reaction to this over-speedy internationalism, which is exploited by the banks and by big business and by people traffickers and all such criminals. I mean, big business is not criminal. Well, no, but they are when they don't pay their taxes. I mean, come on. Companies like Starbucks that exploit in the sense that they don't contribute properly to their taxes in the countries in which they operate, and in many of the big internet companies are the same. Parochialism is encouraged. Partly it's encouraged because people, it's the easiest form of expression of anti-establishmentarianism, which is very important to people. People need to be able to express anti-establishmentarianism in an era in which other traditional routes to protests, such as socialism, have been tried, tested, and found wanting. Okay, so people are not happy with the traditional routes to protest, so they get parochial, because that's a form of protest. Okay, so why? Get back to this whole thing. Let's get back to the fundamental issue as far as Judaism is concerned. Why is it wrong to compare the collective punishment of Gaza to the collective punishment used by the Nazis? Now, let's just understand this, because it's just fundamental. Now, you might say, there's no collective punishment of Gaza. Well, that's a moot point. If you're blockading Gaza because of the misbehavior of a faction of extremists, Hamas, your actions affect the entire people of Gaza, including innocent women and children. So, and innocent men. Let's not be sexist here. So, and Gaza's clearly blockaded. It's not an issue. It is blockaded by Egypt, quite as much as by Israel, blockaded by the entire international community, in fact, which signs on to this. So it is collective punishment, but which is illegal in international law. But there you go. I mean, it's difficult for Israel, you could say, to do anything else. Now, it depends on your attitude, but many Israelis would feel they have no choice. So this is another aspect to the whole thing. But the point is, what am I saying? Why is it wrong? Why is it fundamentally wrong to compare the collective punishment of Gaza to the collective punishment used by the Nazis? Primarily because of the obscenity of the Holocaust. That is an absolute. So, and therefore, the two things are not comparable. I mean, and this may be self-evident to my Jewish friends, but it may not be to some of my Arab friends. And so let's say that it is simply because of that. The Holocaust involved death camps. Now, and this is unforgivable. At an individual level, sure, you can forgive anything. I mean, Corrie ten Boom, who was in Ravensbrück prison camp and saw all her family murdered, forgave one of the Nazi prison camp guards when she encountered him after the war in 1947. I mean, most individuals could never find it in themselves to forgive the person that was part responsible for the obscene murder of their family. But the point is, that may be and is admirable. Admirable, and something we should all aspire to in more minor situations is forgiveness. But she may do that as the victim, but we cannot and must not, as the bystanders, forgive this kind of thing. I mean, the names of Ravensbrück and Auschwitz must be remembered with reverent care, because that sacrifice made unwillingly by those people who were driven to their deaths in the most brutal fashion was a true Holocaust. It was a horror, but it was a terrible price. But a terrible price. In many ways, the establishment of the State of Israel is a consequence of that, a safe haven for the Jews. So we cannot compare any action by the Jews to actions by the Nazis. It is not comparable. What we can compare are other instances of genocide, and there have been them. You know of the Hutsis and the Tutsis. You know of historically of the Armenian genocide in Turkey, though many Turks would deny it ever happened, but the Armenian genocide. And, for example, I think you can even compare China's treatment of the Uyghurs to the Nazis because it involves actual prison camps. Because 1 million people are placed in prison camps. Now, they may not be death camps, but I think that is comparable to Nazi Germany. The behavior of China towards its minority, I would argue, is comparable to Nazi Germany. And I think you can do that, and do that honorably, because it is an obscenity that the world is not calling China out about. We have an action with death camps that's comparable to the actions of Nazi Germany, in my view. No, I'm sorry, let me retract that. They're not death camps, are they? But they are prison camps. They're prison camps for re-education. And yes, there's a comparison. But you can't make that, you can't draw that comparison with actions taking place in Israel. You can say, if you wish, that Israel is an apartheid state and draw that parallel, and you could argue for that comparison because it has 2 levels of nationality, and there are differences. But you cannot make this. And so where are we going with this? The point is that, in Britain, the Labour Party was slow to react to behaviour that was anti-Semitic, amongst its own members, and its leader Jeremy Corbyn paid a price for that. And we must call people out where they don't highlight anti-Semitism or Islamophobia. Racism in all its forms. And sometimes it can be unconscious. The very best people can be guilty of unconscious racism. I mean, some of my Jewish friends will be aware that one of the great Jewish campaigners and columnists in the newspapers insists on writing a whole series of columns talking of London as Londonistan. Londonistan. A pun on Pakistan or whatever. And a pun on what she was trying to say was that London was a hotbed for extremism, and she was using a catchy phrase. I'm sorry, that's racist. You don't see it? That is fundamentally racist. Think about it. You don't see it? Okay. Well, I can't help you then if you don't see that. But then you have to take the, what is the thing? Take the splinter out of your eye before you try to take a splinter out of somebody else's eye. Come on. For very similar reasons. Donald Trump, who has been great in some respects, and like the curate's egg, awful in others. He said of two or three Americans, 3 Americans specifically, but anyway, who challenged him on issues. He said that they should go home because they were from families that had a heritage that came from elsewhere. But then all Americans do, don't they? I mean, it's the Red Indians that... Sorry, Red Indians is not politically correct. I'm getting into trouble now. But the Native Americans who have a right to America on that basis. Donald Trump said, if you don't like it, go home. Come on. Is that racism? Clearly it's racism. What can be more wounding? Your life, you're brought up in a country and it's your home and your nationality, and they tell you go home. Go home. Come on. That's racist. That is quite wrong. And these fundamental examples of racism are there and happening again and again and again. And then it gets down to the girl wearing a headscarf on the bus, getting harangued by the bus driver for doing so. And I'm talking now of one of my friends, one of my close friends, a Somali lady. Yeah, come on. I mean, it is provocative up to a point where, as you find in areas of Pimlico where I was living for much of my life, you find girls in Page Street or whatever who will wear the full veil, who are British girls who've married Muslim men and who adopt that. Because it's provocative. Why is it provocative? It is provocative. It is provocative to, it's like a statement of defiance. But, and so I can understand up to a point why the full veil was outlawed for a time in secularist Turkey or in France today. But But it's a difficult one. Should we outlaw it in Britain? I don't think so. We had the famous remarks by our Prime Minister Boris Johnson, where he compared ladies in full veil to slitty letterboxes. Very offensive. Is that racist? Yes, it's racist. It's a clever little phrase. Of course, it's racist. Does that mean that the Prime Minister is racist per se? No, it doesn't really. It means he is careless with his language, and we hope he will behave better. His words are racist. He doesn't really realize it. Just as the Jewish lady the Jewish columnist who described London as Londonistan, doesn't really realize and would heartily be wounded to be called racist. But the word is racist. She's not racist. Her word is racist. Her use of words is racist. And therefore the perception. We cure racism by being inclusive of the other, by realizing that everybody has an equal value. And it's down to us to cure racism. It's not down to it's not down to governments or well, it is, but the point is it starts with us, and we have to. Our own attitudes must be inclusive. We must love everybody. It's essential, at least as far as I can see. There is no excuse for doing it. And yes, at a personal level, we must take the kind of Corrie ten Boom stance. So forgive even the prison camp guard. That's at a personal level. At an institutional level, at an international level, for nations, for institutions within nations, like the British Labour Party, then there are rules, and we must stand by them for human rights and for dignity and human dignity. And we do not forgive the actions of others that are exclusive. We don't forgive the actions of Daesh, but we can forgive individuals. I was very impressed by when that terrible killing by Daesh in Libya of about 100 Coptic Christian young men who were lined up, I don't know whether you remember, a year ago or 2 years ago, lined up and had their throats cut by ISIS as they knelt there. Terrible behavior. Terrible. And then in the aftermath of that, the Coptic bishop in Britain tweeted the words, "Father, forgive." Just those two words, "Father, forgive." What a noble, kind action. We need to be forgiving. We need to be inclusive. And if we can do that, we really make a difference in the world today. And it's inclusiveness in the sense that we truly place an equal value on everybody. And it starts with us. It really does start with us. Okay. Thank you.